Hello and welcome to the ADHD Skills Lab. This is our research recap episode with the wonderful Will Kerb from Hacking Your ADHD. In each one of these episodes, we will go through a paper. We'll look at some of the practical takeaways, how it's going to affect you with your ADHD, as well as what we liked and what we didn't like about it. So if you've always wondered where some of this research that helps make some of the decisions about your life is coming from, this is what we unpack. This is what we demystify. So come along for the ride. Okay. I am super excited about this paper because this paper is a systematic review and a meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials. I will tell you what all of that means, but what it essentially means is in the academic world, there's no such thing as proof. You can't prove anything. It's the first thing we learn. This paper is as close to proof as possible within this particular area, which means that the results of this paper are as close to take it to the man, use it, this is exactly what they found as possible, which I love. So yeah, do you have any other thoughts before we dive in, Will?
Exercise is always, I've written about exercise being a great thing for ADHD, so based on probably studies that were included in this meta-analysis. And it's something that I always am preaching to have people try and include more of, including to myself, because it can be hard some days. I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do,
No.
but there is science behind it that says, yeah, you probably should.
Yeah. And particularly for your mood, which I think is really interesting because we talk about it for your ADHD. There's papers on working memory and exercise and things like that. And this one was particularly looking at anxiety, depression, and emotional regulation. It's from 2025, so this is hot off the press. So how did they do this? I want to just dive a little bit into what a meta-analysis systematic review is. Essentially, they did it in the official way. They used a PRISMA statement. So basically, these papers take a long time. So usually what will happen is that they will put out a notice that they are doing this paper. Please, no one else try and do this paper, basically. And they will follow a very specific set of rules called PRISMA, Preferred Reporting Items for Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analysis, which involves a really comprehensive literature search. They tell you exactly what they searched. And then they have two researchers, which just have their little initials, who go through all of the papers together and identify which papers need to fit the inclusion criteria and which don't. I have done one of these papers before. I've been the person with the initial on a paper, so I know how much work that is. So shout out to them. And essentially what they did was they started with, 7,000 from one place, 1,000 from another, like a massive amount of papers, and they ended up with just 18. So they exclude things like conference articles, if age is not mentioned, if outcome indicators don't meet inclusion criteria. They do a full screen analysis of all these papers, and they get the sort of top papers that discuss this idea of ADHD, exercise, emotional dysregulation that fit the criteria, and then they look at those, and those were all randomized controlled trials, which is really interesting because randomized controlled trials avoid a lot of the issues that you have with subjective analysis. So we just did another recording where we talked about the idea that they measured it based on kind of just what the parents thought about the kids. And that is not a randomized controlled trial.
That was really the inclusion criteria and the exclusion criteria on these papers I thought was really interesting. I especially appreciate this is a very focused thing on ADHD, where they were like, yeah, we're not going to be looking at autism, we're not looking at Tourette system or other comorbid conditions with ADHD. We're looking for papers that are specifically about ADHD so that we can really drill down, is this an effect for ADHD?
Yeah. And we're comparing it to controls, which is always great. And we're doing it in a randomized controlled trial way, which means that the intervention is being measured in a randomized way so people don't know what they're getting, which again is very helpful. Just another layer of sort of consistency that you know that the results are pretty good. So what did they find? Will, what did they find?
So we had 18 studies that made the cut out of all those thousands of papers. And so they were looking for key results in how the exercise affected anxiety, depression, and emotional regulation. So with this, they found that exercise works. We have studies to prove that. So it wasn't more, a lot of this wasn't saying, hey, does this work or not? They were looking for kind of what works best in these scenarios. We know that exercise is good. What kind of exercises should you be doing? And so they broke this out into how different exercises affected these different areas they were looking at. And so if we're trying to work on anxiety, they found that using mixed exercises, so not just doing one kind of exercise, you would be doing weightlifting and running, or doing a couple different things to maybe doing sports, could help with your anxiety. And they found that the best results for anxiety was a moderate to high frequency with like moderate intensity. Mm-hmm. So I could see something like pickleball. That sounds like something people would be like moderately intense. I know some people take it very intensely.
I was like just thinking that when you said it, that's like, it depends on the pickleball.
Yeah. When I played, it was moderate. For depression, they found that a more long-term thing with low frequency, moderate intensity, so that you're not really pushing yourself. You're doing it like over a long period, but doesn't need to be every day. That had the best results there. Again, mixed. In fact, everything was mixed exercise. Nothing said just do one exercise and you'll be happy. Mixing things up. And then with emotional regulation, mixed exercise, and then doing moderate to high frequency with lower intensity. Going for a walk, which I know works great for my emotional regulation, where I'm like, oh, I'm upset. I'm going to go for a walk. And then it comes back and I'm like, wow, I thought things through and I'm dumb. I shouldn't have been angry about this.
So many problems have been solved on a walk, honestly. It's a necessity for me. And if you guys want an annotated version of this paper, by the way, where I go through all the different details, you want to ask me any questions, you can just DM me exercise at Unconventional Organization. More than happy to do that. More than happy to chat. But it was a really cool paper. They also said exercise promotes frontal lobe function development, activates the prefrontal cortex, stimulates dopamine release, thereby fostering positive emotions, diminishing negative ones. So there was a lot of good reasons why this works, as well as discussions about the moderate exercise, which is so nice, because if they'd said it was high intensity interval training with weightlifting 7 days a week, that would have been very annoying, because I don't want to do.
And I think it's also important, like, any exercise is going to be good for all of these. Don't take the idea that you have to do what's most optimal, which I know is something a lot of times when you've got ADHD, you think, not only am I going to start a new program, I'm going to start the best program there is.
Oh, yeah.
And that can cause you to procrastinate because you're trying to find that best program, and then find something that you don't want to do.
Exactly. Closely followed by, as you said, I need to find the best program. I need to get it fully set up. I need to get it fully implemented, and then I'm going to do it. So don't ask me to exercise today. I will exercise in about 2 months from now, once I have all these pieces together. Also, I'm incredibly overwhelmed and I barely have time to do it. We've seen you. We talk to you all the time. We know. And we live it as well.
Oh, yeah. Like, I have not been doing as much recently because the exercise space in my garage has stuff, boxes and other crap just all around it. And I'm like, when I get around to cleaning that, I'll do more of my exercise program. Terrible idea. I can just go out for a walk and do stuff in my backyard that I need to. I don't need to specifically use that area. I could do yoga videos or go to a local gym that I might have a membership for that I haven't used in a while.
Yeah, and this is a really good reminder to us as well as you that that exercise is helpful not just for your ADHD, which sometimes feels, I think we can get a little bit like, well, this is going to sound strange, but I know you guys have all had this experience where they're like, I should just be able to figure it out. You know, I should just be able to push through. It's like, no, this is going to help you not just with that, but also with the emotional side of your life. And we spend so much time thinking about, if you struggle with emotional, you know, I struggle with anxiety, you know, all of those kinds of things. If you struggle with this, it takes up so much of your time. to find out with very, very, very good research that you could go for a walk and it's going to have an effect, a positive effect, go for a walk. Do it. It's not that long, and we'll do it too. Trust me, we're going to be doing it as well.
And I think it's also important to like, yeah, hey, if you do what's able for you to do, because we're going to have listeners that are on all different levels of what
very true
they're capable of, what their body allows them to do, and maybe you have something where you can't go for a walk. Well, then you could. There's other things I've watched. Get Fit While You Sit.
Yes,
that was a something that was on the I think Channel 2 when I was growing up. But there are things you can do even if you have limitations. So don't completely write off the idea if it seems like it's going to be too much at once. It's okay to start anywhere.
100%. And the research backs it up. Really cool paper. I was so happy to find this paper. It's nice when there's something that's just bringing together a lot of practical strategies. Feels like they wrote it for us. That makes sense.
Yeah. And it feels like they did a great job of making sure that this was something that we can relate back to ADHD. It wasn't something where we go, this could be also affecting these other things, and that's why we're seeing this effect here. Because I do know, even if you don't have ADHD, exercise is going to be good for all of these things. But we're seeing here, it is especially good for people with ADHD.
100%. According to randomized controlled trials. So they did compare it to controls, which I love it.
Yeah, because it is so easy to have these conflicts that occur in studies because when it's not controlled and it's not randomized.
Yeah. And it's so easy. And I think this is why I often look for meta-analyses or these kinds of papers, because it's so easy when you're doing the first paper on a topic to add in extra pieces. Like I remember doing research and you're like, yeah, we could add, but this person, we only got 20 people. It was really hard. And this person has something else. And so just include them, that's okay. Like that's how it really ends up happening.
Yeah. And doing the meta-analysis also, like, we know there's bad science out there where people are looking for results. So they'll grab a huge sample size, ask 1,000 questions, and then they're like, oh, we can find things here. And then by doing the meta-analysis, we're looking at a lot of different papers and trying to see, especially when they're like, here's the criteria to be a paper here. And then it goes, yeah, from these 18 papers, we can find a significant result. Of course, it would be nicer if we had even more research that really supported this, but I feel like this is the gold standard, what we're looking for. Especially
because like if they did 18 randomized controlled papers, they would have had a lot of papers that didn't meet that standard that were left on the cover.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good for this one, even if it's a little bit short.
Let's go out and go for a walk. Hello. So you were just listening to a research recap. I'm Skye Waterson of Unconventional Organization. If you like that, there's lots more information about ADHD and support for you at unconventionalorganization.com. You can go ahead and check that out. Lots of free resources, lots of strategies. And if you want to join our programs, you can do that as well.